Is everyone having a good time? Who was here yesterday? And so we're going to even have more fun today. Just to remind you again, Denver Comic-Con's a program in the pop culture classroom. We're a local nonprofit. We promote literacy in the arts. We work in schools, youth centers, correctional facilities, summer camps. We use comics to help kids and young adults improve their reading and writing. Every ticket you buy for Denver Comic-Con that you did to get in here today supports the work of pop culture classrooms. Thank you. Please check out their booth upstairs. Please go to the website, popcultureclassroom.org. And I want to get up here on the stage, our moderator. It was a switch at the last minute, so he's a real trooper, real pro. You know him as Harry Kim on Voyager. He's one of People Magazine's 50 Most Beautiful People. We're thrilled to have him here on our stage. Please welcome Garrett Wong.
All right. That's my George. So happy to be here. Yeah, moderating panels and hosting different things has become my new pastime, I suppose. So without further ado, please put your hands together for a wonderful actor, Mr. Manu Bennett.
The attention you can get from doing the jobs that we do. You know, story is such an important thing. You know, sometimes I stand up here on a stage and I think to myself, like, you know, what is it? What is it that I do? Or what's the responsibility that you have coming up here and sort of speaking to the people of Denver? Or last week I was in Romania or Atlantic City or whatever these last couple of weeks, and you know, it's incredible the power of story. You know, it's incredible how you know the truth is always found within story, and the stories that do become popular are the ones that really move us. And so, you know, I'm very lucky to be an actor that wanted to get into this industry because of the truth. I wanted to get into it because of the connective feeling, you know, just to come to yet another city. This is my first time to Denver. Thank you very much for having me. You want me to come over there? You want me to? Okay, but this lady wants me just to talk to her alone. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's funny. Thank you. So look, just shoot away. Any questions you want to ask, make them as personal as you want, make them as, abstract as you want. I'm here to really explain who I am and why I do what I do. And as I said, it's very humbling to think that what I do and the emotional connection has reached you guys, and you're here to talk to me. Thank you.
Monica, can I just say, before coming down here to moderate, they grabbed me at the last second. I brought two jackets. One is the one I'm wearing now. The other one is the jacket you're wearing right now. I got the same jacket as you.
Oh, you should have worn that one.
I should. No, but that would have been really weird. Oh my God, he's wearing the same jacket as mine. So anyway, I didn't bring that one. We would have been weird twins and everything. But I just want to say, when I first met you, do you remember where it was?
In a hotel room with a...
No, not that. It was at a convention. We just, generally sure. And I didn't tell you this back then, but I had seen all of Spartacus, you know. The first thing that crosses my mind when I meet Manu was like, I didn't say it, but I was like, dude.
You see me naked.
Exactly.
It was funny because there's this thing happened this phenomenon happened for a brief while on the internet. It was, is Manu wearing a prosthetic? And let me tell you a brief funny story about that, and I hope it doesn't offend anybody. In Spartacus, we had very, very, very cold conditions in New Zealand when we started filming, and who here is a Spartacus fans? Okay, so for those of you who haven't, there hasn't been a Slade Wilson or an Arzog comparison, so but in this particular show, you know, we had to be naked in these bathhouse scenes, particularly. You know, which was just a bunch of men. I mean, I never thought twice about it. I just took myself back to the rugby days, you know. You might be in the shower rooms with all the guys after the match, and you'd be like, yeah, good game, yeah, right. So we did this was a similar thing, but in the gladiator world. But being naked in very cold weather, and knowing that I was going to go out and be in front of the whole world, potentially, on television, all of these guys would be in the corner, sort of going like, trying to warm up, trying to get some sort of leverage, you know. It was hilarious. I swear to you, every guy in there was doing it. Was like, come on. And I remember this one particular shot where I had to come out and I was in front of Lucy Lawless and the Navia character and the Alithia character. And I was put on parade in front of them and I was told to take off my sublagaria. And it was freezing. And I said to the director, mate, please do me the favor and just don't linger too long on that shot. And he I was going to just get straight up here. And he said, okay, Manu, listen, I'll just, you know, immediately I'll just reveal and we know what you're going through. I thought it was really important for Crixus to go through that moment because it was really about, you know, as a slave you had absolutely, you know, you were just an animal, you were just being used and, you know, it was very important to see that part of that tone of our series, and so I did it, and it was freezing. So that particular shot got out there, and then several seasons, well, several episodes later, when we were probably shooting in the summer when it was nice and warm. And all the boys were doing this, you know. But then I sort of got this nice healthy shot, you know. So I'm standing there, right? And so that circulated. Somebody did a shot of that, of one of them, a shot of the other. And I posted it online, and there was this whole thing going around. It was Manu Bennett wearing a prosthetic. And all I can say is, that's what temperature can do. That's all there is to it. Anyway, I don't even know how that's how we go into that conversation. Manu Bennett, and it's either this big or this big, depending on the temperature.
So we've set the record straight. Manu Bennett does not have a prosthetic penis. How do you sign penis?
Sorry, what is that?
There's children here.
Just get this back to
yeah, let's sit down. All right, we have microphones set up on both sides, so you guys come on up. We've already handled the whole prosthetic penis part, so don't ask that question. We'll start on this side. Over here, please.
Hello. Hey, Manu, thank you so much for Crixus. It was awesome. I remember just cheering for you in every fight scene, like, don't kill him off. Thank goodness that you stuck around as long as you did, and that you made that character awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, I hope to think that, you know, it wasn't, you know, because sometimes I look at that series and there's so much violence, and, you know, I'm not a promoter of violence, you know, but you know, I hope that what the real feeling people got, you know, I speak to a lot of military guys, you know, I have some guys that come up to me after spending a lot of time, you know, in war, and they're shaking. And they don't like to fight either. But what it is that they understand the suppressed feeling of just trying to live in the midst of all of that violence. And I think that with Spartacus, that was a really important element. And I think that, I hope, and I think that that's what people connected to, right, was the trying to find your ability to be a man, you know, to try to find, you know, I mean, all of that stuff with Navia, with her being able to peel the layers back, yeah, to find the man, and for Spartacus to you know, keep on persisting with Crixus to help him see the light, and then for Crixus to finally get to this moment where instead of saying, "Shall I begin?" he says, "Shall we begin?" and that's really important because it's sort of this, it's living outwardly, Anyway.
Well, my question.
He hasn't got a question yet, but that's good.
Answer what you haven't said.
Question really is, I'm a big Spartacus fan and now a really big Arrow fan, but working with Andy in season 1 and then transitioning over to Liam as Spartacus later, I just, that had to, I don't know, what was like the dynamic of that for you and some of the other actors?
Two different animals.
Right.
Completely two different animals. Andy Whitfield. It's like this. You've seen how many people have done James Bond.
Right.
And there's variables. There's the good-looking guy who doesn't have so much, natural kind of ease. I mean, Sean Connery was just, he just moves and says and breathes a complete sense of a man. I mean, then you get to Roger Moore, who's more, much more aristocratic kind of, regal, just good-looking, strong jaw, but then you get on to what's his name, the one 2 ago. Well, the Daniel Craig took it to where Batman's gone, get grunty, just get real, get violent, get all of that, and then before him was Pierce Brosnan, who's really a look, that guy sells a watch, immediately. But a good actor nonetheless, but all these different colours that can be James Bond. So, Andy Whitfield, if I confronted him in a scene playing Crixus, if I said, your wife's been by 1,000 Roman, remember that line? And I say it right to his face, with as much threatening as I can. He would just relax and look at me and say, no wonder you smell like a woman. And he had a smirk on his face. He just knew how to caress a scene and be a man. He was very strong. When I first started acting with Liam, when I was angry in his face, he would get angry back at me, which was a completely different take to what Andy Whitfield would do.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like trying to work out how a person strategizes their particular way of finding the power or finding, their own position to stand within an argument, It was very different. But you know what? Liam had very big shoes to fill. And thank goodness he did fill those shoes, and we got another couple of seasons out of Spartacus. Because Spartacus shouldn't have gone beyond the first season. The CEO of Stars wanted to can it. He was new. He'd come from HBO, Chris Albrecht. And he basically said, and he was right, that no series had ever gone beyond the first season if they'd lost their lead actor. It had never been done. And so they thought we couldn't do it. So, but luckily Stephen DeKnight wrote, and thank goodness for my character as well, from Crixus, he wrote Legends of the Gods of the Arena.
Right.
And Gods of the Arena, God, it opened up so many other characters. It made Batiatus the protagonist, and his father kind of like the hard father, the son who's trying to prove himself, and then, Crixus, I had the ability to almost do the Spartacus story, come in very vulnerable, come in like, how can I survive in this world? And how I survived was I became Crixus, the undefeated Gaul. Mm-hmm. But when I arrived with that long matted hair, when I read that scene, I went, oh, God, thank goodness I can show within a performance where Crixus came from. And it really helped out that whole series, that Gods of the Arena one. Then along came Liam and also Cynthia. Cynthia, when I came into that Vengeance episode, that Vengeance series, I had a new Spartacus and a new Navia. And that was really strange. But I just decided I'd stick to the way that I knew Crixus to be, remain in his character. So the moment that I looked in Liam's face, I just went, boom, the same way I'd done with Andy. And the minute that I looked into Cynthia's eyes, I just did the same man wanting, the need for love, behind a hard wall that's slowly breaking down. I did that with her, and that's how that all worked. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, of course. Your performance was a solid, made a rock through the whole thing and all the transitions, and just thank you so much for that. It was great. Thank you.
Over here.
My question is regards to, by the way, also, thank you for being an awesome portrayal of Slade Wilson. Seriously, you got me hooked on Arrow. And I wanted to actually ask you about the outfit that you wear in season 2 with all of the whole get-up. Like, how much time did it take to put that stuff on? How heavy was it? What was your range of motion like?
You talking about the Deathstroke?
Yeah.
The echo in here, the Deathstroke costume? To tell you the truth, it looks like it's really hardcore gear, you know, but it's actually made of really light plastics, foam. You know, it's not as technical as that suit looks. They just make it look like that. You know, costume and art department can really sort of pull off some incredible stuff visually that looks like something and it's not. So that whole costume, it was basically a pair of pants. You know, I put the pants on, they come up, put a belt on. You know, there was a sort of just a jacket that went over and it already had a lot of that stuff already attached to it. Then they sort of, you know, hooked on a couple more straps and it was sort of on. It wasn't a major task. I mean, they've got to, you know, when they're working in those departments, the costume department has to realize that they're turning around scenes very quickly. I'll be doing that scene and I'll be jumping out of that outfit and I'll be jumping into a suit to play, say, Slade Wilson in The Office, you know? So you know, there's a time factor that's always involved. So it seems as though it could take a long time to put that stuff on, but it doesn't really. But it's a wonderful outfit. I want to get hold of it, actually.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Is there anybody here dressed as Deathstroke? Oh yeah. Come up here, buddy. Come up here. I just want to see you.
Oh, you come up too. Come on.
There's a
Manu, there's another one too. We got another one.
what's that? Another one? Oh,
Two.
come up
Yeah,
here.
come on up here.
Here, get up here.
And come up in the light. There's no light over here. Manu, let's go over here. These people want to see your beautiful face. You're on shadow. Get up. There you go.
Okay, let's
That was fun. Thank you. Don't trip on the way down. Okay. Manu, they can't see you when you walk over here. So I need you to stay here because they want to see your beautiful
I can't
face.
see them when I'm sitting
I
here.
know, you're being so nice and you're trying to like talk to
I
each
have to
person.
look at people's faces.
Okay, all right. All right, over here, please.
Hello. As I had said yesterday, your portrayal of Deathstroke was incredible. And I had asked you this question and you asked me
You're
to
that
come.
guy.
Yes. You asked me to come by and ask this question
You're now
again.
Thor.
Yes.
Wow, the possibilities of cosplay.
Exactly. Oh, you should have seen my cosplay yesterday. It was terrible, actually. I'd have a coat hanger in my hair, hold it up. I'm not kidding. It sucked to get it out. Anyway, my question, as you know, is what would you have liked to see done, or where would you have liked to see Arrow go with Deathstroke rather than what they actually did?
Oh, you know, I know that conversation got out there in the media a bit. You know, somebody from an Australian magazine asked me, how did I feel about, you know, getting beat up at the end of season 2 by Arrow, and then what happened on the island with Thea. And you know, my response to him was, and I said to him off the record, but you know, obviously you can never say it to a journalist, because I said to him off the record, mate, I don't want to get into some argument with my writers, but I'll tell you something off the record. So it's out there now, so it doesn't matter. But I just thought that, you know, like Deathstroke has this wonderful mythology about him, in that he's not, you know, super powered. You know, he's just you know, he's a military guy, so he sort of represents. You know, I got to tell you a story about how I got the role. I was in Kuwait doing a USO tour with a bunch of, you know, yeah. As I was saying before, you know, a lot of the military guys, you know, they really, you know, I mean, everybody needs a story. You know, everybody's got to listen to a song. You know, everyone's got to have something that connects them back to a safe place. So somehow our show was a safe place or a good place for those soldiers to go to when they were over there. They could relate to it. There were people dying and brothers, you know, trying to support each other, and it was, you know, something that they could identify with, and they could find some sort of sense of, you know, potential heroism within themselves, you know. So, I met with these guys. I was at a place called Camp Araf Jan, which is where they all fly in and out of Afghanistan and Kuwait. And I was shaking hands with a lot of young American boys who were about to head up there into the bloodbath. And it was very humbling, and I was very keen at one stage to find out who was like the badass. So I was kind of like, you know, who's like the real Rambo around here, you know? Like, and they introduced me to this guy called Knight, who was a special forces guy, and this guy was, you know, I mean, just a normal guy, but with a lot of training, a lot of ability, and a lot of experience out there in the field, and. I sort of asked him some questions about things that he needed to do and had to do out there, and at one stage I was just asking about, because I'd seen this movie where if you go into some of these places, you know, in the Middle East and whatnot, there's dogs. They have dogs that start barking, so they'll give you up if you're within, you know, range, you know, so they have snipers that take the dogs, and then they've got to go and do some stuff. And I said, well, how do you sort of stay in stealth mode in those situations? And then he showed me this chokehold. He put me in this chokehold. Where he said, you know, I've got to go in. And when I left Kuwait and I went back to Los Angeles for 2 days, I only had 2 days in LA before I had to go back for the Hobbit premiere. And I got called 4 hours before I was meant to be at the airport. And my manager was going, do you want to go in and audition for this show called Arrow? And I said, I've got to be at the airport like in 4 hours. And she said, oh, yeah, like they'll see you straight away if you go in there. And I was so unprepared for the Arrow audition. And I went in there, and another small story is that they'd also given me this 5-hour energy drink. When I was in Kuwait, all the boys have this 5-hour energy drink, because if you get caught in a firefight, and the firefight goes for 24 hours, you can't go to sleep, of course. So they actually have this stuff as a survival tool, you know, drop 5-hour energy drink, it'll keep you awake to keep on fighting. So when I was there, I had really bad jet lag, so they'd given me some of this stuff, and so I could go and do the daily meets that I had with all these soldiers. Anyway, at the airport, one of them had given me this and said, here's something to remember us by. So here I am going off 4 hours before I'm meant to be at the airport, still with jet lag, and going to this Arrow read, and I was really unprepared for it. I got outside and I was going, oh, God, I really don't feel like I'm up for this audition. And I'm like, oh, I've got that 5-hour energy drink. You know the Mirakuru? I swear to you, I had some Mirakuru before I went in for that audition. And not only that, but I went in with some experience that I just had with those boys in Kuwait. And when I got in there, I started reading the audition scene, and there was this military guy, you know, talking about this military guy, and it was the opening scene of Arrow. Remember when Oliver comes into the fuselage of the plane? And I drop through the ceiling and I grab him around the throat and I say, kid, you've got 10 seconds to tell me something I believe or I'm going to cut out your throat box. I do this in a few places, but I'll come up here, Thor. No, you're dressed. Okay, come up here, Thor. Yes, you got it. Thank you. But now you've got to be the joke victim.
Do you really wish to do this with a god?
Now I'm scared. This might have repercussions. Hey, buddy. So, here, let me take the war hammer. Can I take the helmet? Let's de-Thor, because I don't want to take it. So in the audition, it said that I dropped down and I grabbed this guy in the chokehold. And when I got in there, I thought, like the reader was standing behind the camera, so all the other guys had stood there just pretending to have somebody in the chokehold. And I said, listen, can I have the reader come over here in front of the camera and I'm going to put him in a chokehold? And they were like, yeah, sure. on 5-hour energy training. I might not be completely in control of my sleep. But anyway, so he comes up in front of the camera, and I grab him. I get him in the, I mean, you grab both arms, and what happens is the bone in your forearm there goes against the windpipe. And it doesn't take much effort at all to block it, and then the person will pass out pretty soon. So I was so ready for this role. And a lot of things were just ticking over that just sort of were making sense in reality. And I'm a bit of a reality-based actor. So I sort of grabbed this kid, and I had no intention but to just do the audition, right? And I grabbed him, and I had him in this chokehold. And of course, it took a few seconds for them to get the camera ready, but I already had him in the chokehold. And then the director was like, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yes." Yes. And he said, "Okay, action." I went, "Listen, kid, you've got 10 seconds to tell me something I believe, or I'm gonna cut out your throat box." At which point, the kid, not Thor, no way it will be Thor, but the kid collapsed on the ground. Can you just do a little collapse? Like that.
Stay down.
Now this is my audition for Arrow. Not a word of a lie. Is he okay? Is it, and I actually said these words, I said, "Is this part of the scene?" And the director said, and he was looking over his camera and he went, "I think you just choked him out." And I went, "Kid, you okay?" "You okay?" And he started coming to because that chokehold, it only blocks you out for a few seconds. It just, you know. And I said, "You okay?" And he was like shaking his head and whatnot. And I said, "Come here, come on, jump up. Are you okay? You okay?" Right? You see, he was okay. And the director said, "Go wash your face in the bathroom," to this kid, right? "Thanks, Thor." And so we went off to the bathroom. Of course, Thor's going back to the heavens. Thanks, brother. And I said to the director, "Look, I'm so sorry, mate. Look, honestly, I've just been in Kuwait with some special forces guys, and I read this scene, and I'm like, this guy showed me this chokehold like 2 days ago, and obviously it works." And the director said, "It was perfect." And I couldn't believe it. And he said, "Come and have a look." And I went around behind the camera, and we're looking at the camera, and you see the kid's eyes go. Honestly, I was skating on thin ice. I thought maybe I'll never get an audition in LA ever again. Does it reverberate through the... But you know what? This director realized that that's what I do. You know, I honestly, guys, I know there's safety on set and stuff like that, and whatnot. But honestly, when I try to do a character, I really try to bring what I can that is the truth to it. So I'm always skating that thin line of ice as an actor, you know. But I think that that's necessary in order. I mean, some of the roles that I've got the responsibility to pull off, like Deathstroke, Slade Wilson, Crixus, that they need that. They need that. They need all of that in order to really be convincing, you know. So that's what it was. And I walked out of that audition, and my manager rang me up and said, "Oh, what happened, Manu? What happened?" I said, "Well, I choked this guy out." And she went, "What? No. I said, "Don't worry about it. The director reckons I've probably got the part." So I went to New Zealand that day, and I went to the Hobbit premiere in Wellington, and I woke up the next morning, and they said, Manu, you've got the role. We'd like you to fly over to Vancouver this afternoon. And then, yeah, that's how it happened.
I think you should send a gift basket to the Special Forces guy just to thank him.
I'm talking to them all the time.
Oh, you are? Good. Perfect.
Yeah,
He's your boy now.
They're on Twitter, Facebook all the time. Yeah, they came and met me in Kuwait one night. We had a crazy night in Kuwait.
That's a great story, man. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Okay, this side.
So I thought you were awesome as Slade Wilson and Crixus. What I'm curious about, though, is your upcoming role as Alanon in the Elfstones of Shannara.
Yeah. You know, I was sitting in limbo with Arrow. You know, the episodic count wasn't happening, and so I needed to find the next job. I thought, you know, so I went down to LA. And it was really the first audition that I went for in LA. I got called along to, and it was kind of a strange one because, you know, my manager rang me and she said, listen, these guys want to read you for Shannara tomorrow. It's called Shannara. And I had no idea what it was. I hadn't read the books myself. And she said, listen, you've got to go in tomorrow. And what we're doing is we're pushing for a test deal. We don't want you to have to go and do an audition and, you know, all that sort of stuff. They know your work. So what we want is we want them to commit that they will hire you for X amount of dollars, and if you get the role, it's yours. And if it's not, it's not. But we just don't want to waste your time or their time, so we're going to make it a test deal. So I had this like 12-hour window to make up my mind that that was the next step in my life. And it was a really pressure cooker decision. I was sitting in LA. I was wondering whether I was going to go and hunt for a movie or you know, and when I looked at Shannara, I wasn't quite sure what it was. I saw a picture of this big, I looked up, the first picture that I ever saw on the internet was this giant druid in a black cape looking down over these two little elves, you know, with the Shannara and I think Amberlay. And, you know, I looked at this image and I thought, oh, is this a kids series? And I wasn't quite sure whether I wanted to go into a kids series as an actor, you know. But my manager came back and said, look, Jon Favreau's producing, you know, Jon Favreau, Iron Man, and there's some, you know, Jonathan Liebsman, who, you know, did the latest Ninja Turtles movies and whatnot, is going to direct the first couple of episodes. They're throwing a lot of money at us for MTV. You know, there was a lot of moving parts that had to sort of like, you know, But to be honest, I got 3 little girls and they live in New Zealand, and my career has been taking me away from them a lot. And suddenly they told me it's shooting in New Zealand. And I went, look, I'll go in and read them. I'll go in and read for it. We asked for a good contract. You know, we asked for my best contract yet. So, and at first they said no. And then my manager said, listen, if he comes in and you don't like him, then you don't have to pay it, you know? You can just say no. But if you do like him, that's when you're going to have to pay him. So all of these things sort of made it worth going and having a shot at. So I went and I read for this thing, and I thought I sucked. Honestly, there was this girl sitting in a chair just going like this at me the whole time. And the director was like, okay, let's try it like this. No, go back to the way you were doing it before. And I walked out, and the thing is, because I was playing this druid, I decided I'd wear this big cloak. And the morning I got up, it was like raining, and I thought, oh, thank God, it's nice and cool. I've got this big cloak on. And I actually had to fasten it with this thing on the inside so I couldn't get it back off again, basically. And when I got in there, the sun came out, and I started sweating. And in this audition, I felt like I was in a microwave oven just on slow, going, trying to emote this character. And honestly, everything I thought about this audition was that I didn't get it. And I walked down and I rang my manager and I said, forget about it, I screwed that one up. And then I actually got on a plane that night and I flew to New York for a convention that was, I think it was the New York Comic Con. And the moment that I landed, there was a message, and I rang my manager, and she said, Manu, what are you talking about? They said they loved you. And I've they want you to do it. They said, go ahead. And I was like, whoa. And so I've gone back to my home country, New Zealand. I'm with my kids, and I'm doing it. But that's just the beginning of my journey as a father and as a person, right? Then there's the journey of Shannara and the character of Alanon. They're doing really amazing stuff with this, one of the wonderful things is I'm shooting, going back to New Zealand, all the guys that are on the set, all of the lighting guys, costume guys, stunt guys, are all the guys I worked with on Spartacus. So I'm like, brother, here we go again. Yeah. That's another home run for New Zealand. Let's do it, boys. Let's do it, girls. Let's do it. So these guys that I'm working with, they all did Lord of the Rings, they all did The Hobbit, they all did Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe. And you know that Shannara is this fantasy series that needs all of that grandness, it needs all of that artistry, it needs all of that attention to detail. That New Zealand's been doing that for a long time. We got some of the best in the world at doing that look. So the moment that I walked into the set and I saw the stage, I saw the stages that I built, I thought this is really, really freaking amazing. This is going to look special. Every shot has looked amazing. It's got the makings to be a great series. It's a very competitive field out there. It's all going to come down to relationship and whether you guys identify to the characters. I know the producers have told me that I'm doing they say I'm doing a fantastic job. And I know that I'm committing to it. I know that I'm hitting Alanon as hard as I can. And I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be fantastic. I think he is. Not that I'm being egotistical about it, I'm just throwing everything I got as a growing actor at this role. And it's the next step. I'm bringing Crixus, I'm bringing Alanon, I'm bringing Crixus, Deathstroke, Ars, I'm bringing all of this stuff and I'm now bringing it into a wizard, And this guy's badass. He's badass. So the only thing is that they gave me this crazy haircut. I went in there and they had this big long wig. They had this long wig, the old wizard with the long hair thing, They put it on and I was sitting there he's going to be a bit of a rock star. He's going to come in and go, ooh-ah. But then the producer came in and he went, no, that's been done 1,000 times. Let's shave his head. I always say yes to anything. The guy who suffered the most was my stunt double. Who was just getting married and having his first kid and had to get all these wedding photos and all his baby photos with this crazy. This kid's going to go up and say, Daddy, what the hell were you doing with your hair? But they do it because they put runes. They do these scarification along the side of my head on both sides, and it looks great. It looks great. It's the right thing for the character. But yeah. So Alanon's coming, Shannara's coming, Austin Butler, who's playing, Will Osford, the last son of Shannara. He's brilliant. That kid's brilliant. I can only imagine coming here next year and he's going to be walking through these buildings and girls are going to be going, Austin's a good-looking young kid, and he's a great actor. And his mother passed away 4 months before this show began. And in the show, it starts off with his mother passing away, that's all I'm going to say. And the kid has brought his heart to this role. And he's a beautiful kid, great-looking kid, and he can act really wonderfully. And I'm just finding it a really, really wonderful thing to be in scenes with him. And hopefully the rest of us will all just do our part and the show will work, but we'll leave that to the critics.
I just want to interject real quickly. I have a minor heart attack every time you walk up here because you've been flirting with this edge this whole time. And I know you came from New Zealand, and I know you might have jet lag, and maybe your hand-eye coordination might not be so good. So please, for my own sanity, can you just give me 12 inches back? That's all. Thank you. You were stuck. You just were like, anyway, so back in New Zealand, I was doing this thing. You scared the crap out of me.
Where was I standing?
You were standing right here.
Could be action.
Hey, Manu.
Hey, bud.
Speaking of New Zealand and The Hobbit, I wonder if you could talk about the experience doing a performance capture character as Azog, and especially having to act while speaking black speech, which obviously you don't speak in a lot.
Yeah, to be honest, the black speech one I'll knock out of the way first. They never sent out scripts for The Hobbit. Top secret, absolutely top secret. So I would arrive the night of and get to the hotel, and there'd be a script waiting for me with this lines of black speech, which, I mean, it's like trying to speak German backwards. And I'd look at it, and I'd be like, I can't get that into my head. And so the first time I said, look, it's impossible. There's no way in the world I can process this. So what we did was we just wrote the lines out in phonetics, the way that I would look at if it was obachtil. If the word was obachtil. Okay, so that's Uba. So I'd go, I'd say, right, O-O-B, arch, A-C-H, til, T-I-O, Ubachtil. Right? So there'd be a guy standing over here, like this, on the soundstage with a sign, Ubachtil, Ubnach. And so there would be like, I'd be holding up another sign, so I'd go, so wherever my eye line was, they'd have it there. So I'd go, Ubnach. You know, and I'd sort of move it around and it'd be there for me. It was like reading, you know, from a monitor. But these guys were madly writing out all these things. There was an assigned kind of like, you know, sign writer. The actual, you know, it's very, very underrated so far. You know, I mean, when I think about what Andy Serkis did with Gollum, you know, I mean, I tell you, it's very, very difficult to come in after all of the filming's been done, because that's what happens. They film everything and then they bring you in, and they've got their plates that they're going to assert the characters onto. And they know what it's going to look like, but you don't, because I wasn't there at the live filming. I was never there, like, I never did a scene once with Richard Armitage. When I fought Richard Armitage, I was fighting a stunt double for Richard. You know, I met Richard on the red carpet. Hey, mate. It was, you know, it's kind of, you know, it was just a very pleasant experience, but you know, I never worked with the guy. You know, so when you're in green screen, so when you're in motion capture, which is not green screen, what it is monitors, and it's all just mathematics, and they try to break the mathematics down as definitively as they can. So I've got all little dots all over my face, so that any movement with my face, you know, if it's you know, you got to sort of create these faces, and also, Azog was so big. When I first went into the studio, they had a screen that was showing a kind of only about a 50% rendered version of Azog on a screen, and if I moved, it would move. It was moving. It was basically a live feed of the motion capture. And if I just walked like myself, the big character of Azog just seemed to be going like this. I was going, God, how do you move this guy? You know? How do you move it? And then it was kind of like I had to get I had to sort of move with this big. It's like me saying to a skinny kid, "You're Arnold Schwarzenegger in Mr. Universe." And of course, a skinny kid in their mind are going to get up and they're going to go. But really, they've just got to go. You know, they've just got to go. You know, they've got to just fill the dimension of it. You know, so when I had to walk with Azog, you know, it was like I'd have to get to a scene and just move his big neck and go, "Uba dil, ubnak." You know, it was just the way he moved. You know. So it was interesting, you know, because you really had to bring in those elements. Then at one stage, you know, I was sitting on the back of this green pommel horse. It was just like this. sitting on this thing. And I had no idea what it was. I'm sitting on it, and Peter comes out and he goes, okay, we're going to shoot the last scene of the film. Okay, we've got Gandalf and all the other characters are up this tree, right? And you guys are going to ride down these giant wargs. Well, what's a warg? He says, oh, it's a giant wolf. You're on this big giant wolf. Looks like a pommel horse to me. But, on a chair, Okay, so it's a big wolf. Like, how big is it? Like, how big is its head? He goes, oh, it's way out there in front of you. Okay. He's like, okay, so the scene is you're gonna ride down. I mean, how does an arsehole look when he's riding it? And then you got to come to the base of this tree, and then you got to say this. The lines that you got to say in black speech, they mean, "Can you smell their fear?" And I meant to deliver that line to the other orcs that are on their wargs next to me. And there was nobody next to me. They were just going to be there eventually. I'm just sitting here by myself on this big pommel horse in a body stocking with balls all over it. I look like the gimp at some weird German party. And I'm meant to be the king of the orcs in the middle of a forest, about to kill these guys, right? So I go, okay, so I'm going to say, can you smell the fear? He goes, okay, so they're up there, they're up the tree, okay. And I went, wait up, Peter, Mr. Jackson. This warg that I'm on, do I ride this in all 3 films? And he said, yeah, there's going to be your warg for all 3 films. I said, okay, well, is it special? Is it have I had this warg? Have I got a relationship with this warg? Did I go to the litter and go, oh, that's it. Oh, I'm the white orc, okay? I'm the pale orc. Maybe I went to the litter and I saw an albino warg and I went, I want that one. So that's how we came up with it being a white warg. And I said, okay, so if I've got a relationship with this wolf, with this warg, can I, I know, I'm meant to have a pitchfork on this arm. I said, when I get the arm cut off, I've now got a fork on this. And he said, yeah. And I said, well, dogs like to get the back of their neck scratched. So when I come down here, can I run my fork through the back of its neck, through the hair on the back of its neck? And can I, instead of delivering this line to the orcs that are around me, can I get intimate with my warg? Because if I say to my warg, can you smell the fear? It means I'm going to feed it. And I don't care about, when you're a ruler, a king, you mightn't care about so much about other beings, but you've got an animal that you love, you have that relationship, People have these weird relationships with animals and their dogs. So we married into this scene that I would do the scene like that. So you're watching the movie, I go, and I lean over the top of his head, the warg's head, I go, and there was no head there. I had no pitchfork on the back of my thing, so I was just doing this in my head. And I went, Gundin easy, Gundin nas. Delivered it to the warg. And it was, it's just interesting moments like that, where, when you're in a green suit, you don't have any environment, and you've got to sort of try to make a signature, I guess, as an actor to certain scenes and whatnot. Yeah, that was one of the special times, and I think when I look back at that movie and I look at that scene, and then also the first scene where you ever see Azog and he's standing up at the castle and he's got his back to the screen. I did that because I based Azog the night before I went in to shoot. I got out Jaws and I got out Empire Strikes Back. And I based Azog on Darth Vader and a killer shark. I had no idea how to play Azog. You know that I wasn't the person who played Azog in the movie. In the movie, he was played by a 7-foot guy. And Conan. And I went to, this story could go on forever. I went to high school with the first guy who was cast as Azog, this guy called Conan Stevens. I went to high school with this kid in Newcastle, Australia. And he got cast in it. This guy who originally is 7 foot tall, he came to play in Spartacus. And I hadn't seen him since high school. But I knew that he was a really big, tall guy now, and I heard that he'd got into, I thought he was going to do WWE, but then all of a sudden he found himself in acting. And he came along and he played in Spartacus. He played Sedulus. Sedulus was the German guy who tried to rape Navia, and he had to fight. I came out and tried to kill him, but he swiped me out of the way, and then Spartacus fought with him and cut his face off. Remember his face went flying up in the air? Spartacus. Well, when he came to do Spartacus, I was like, "Oh, Conan, bro, yeah, you should, come up to my place for dinner." So he came to my place for dinner. We were sitting there over a meal, and he said, "Oh, I just went down and auditioned, and I got the part of Azog in The Hobbit, and I'd auditioned like the week before that." And I was sitting there reading, and I went, "Oh, congratulations, mate." I was actually really, I was bummed because they'd flown me down there and I thought that I was in the running, but then he got it, and I was actually really happy for him. But what happened was when they shot him in the motion, not in motion capture, in a suit, I don't know whether you saw in Lord of the Rings or the orcs, when they turned the camera, they were like, you can't really animate the masks so much. It's kind of the detailing isn't fully there yet, in mask work. So Peter got to the editing suite at the end of that movie and he looked at it and he went, "You know what, Azog's got to be something more." So they took out Conan's part of the movie. He's actually in one scene, there's a guy in a battle, but they took out his part and then they brought me in for motion capture and they put it over the top of where his performance was. So
I hate to interrupt.
Oh, yes.
We went over the time. So
no worries. Hey.
We want to thank you for how informative you